Right. So, welcome adults to our Advent Adult Education. This class is called Peace Is, and it's a 3-week series for the 3 weeks that we have left of Advent. We're going to be exploring some of the different dimensions of peace. Today we're talking about peace as being playful. Next week we'll be talking about peace as being present, and then the final week will be about peace as a person. And you can guess who that person is. Santa, yes. My husband got it right. First try, well done. Today we have the honor of having Annalise Hume here with us. She came a couple years ago around Advent, and we did a Visio Divina with her. You may remember that session. Annalise is a spiritual director. She's trained as a dancer as well, but has 2 masters from Princeton Theological Seminary, so she is well equipped to be teaching and leading us this morning. But I just loved the spirit that she brought with the last class, and so I'm excited to learn from her and experience being playful together this morning from her. So as we get started, I'm going to just open us with a word of prayer, and then I'll hand it off. Let's pray. God, thank you so much for the season of Advent. Thank you for the reminder to slow down, to focus in. Thank you for the particular reminder at APC this Advent that you come offering peace, that you long for that for us, and that while we're so aware that we truly lack it, that there are opportunities for us to grasp that gift that you have offered. And so I pray this morning that we would learn and have our eyes open to a new way of receiving your peace in this season. Thank you for Annalise. Thank you for her life experience, for her expertise, for the life and vibrancy that she brings. I pray that you would just bless her as she teaches us and as she spends time with us this morning. It's in your name that we pray, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Oh, and sorry, one other announcement is that we have a number of pies here left over from Advent Village. They're $15 each. There's pumpkin, apple crumb, and that's it. The cherry one got snapped up. So if you're interested in a pie, you can come up and grab one and either hand me some money or leave it right there, and or bring some money next week or something. But those pies will not get any better, so it's time to get them now. Okay, thanks, Annalise.
Great, I love that. Pies and play, let's do it. You'll notice you're in groups of 3, because we're going to do some conversation. If you happen to be by yourself, just scoot over with someone else. But we're going to start with some discussion questions. I'm pointing, there we go. Okay, so first question for you all. What was the last thing you did that felt like play? So gather with the 2 or 3 you're next to. What was the last thing you did that felt like play? I said 3 or more, you know.
I mean, that I enjoyed that.
You can keep going to that question if you're ready for the next. Oh, ready. Okay. Our next question, when we get there, is. I can't even agree with myself. There we go. As a child, how did you like to play? Like, what did you do when you were a child? What was play for you?
Everything. Exercise imagination.
Yeah. Right now, where the other kids are. Play ball in the street. We ride the spots. Ride ball. How did you get the signal to come home?
I was pretty responsible.
My dad went for a month, really loud, everyone in a fish pond. And my mom wanted to build it in the sand.
Outside, so we didn't have any. We didn't have
I love doing remember? Man, those are the bad ones. I dressed them all.
the second time. Always.
At 5 and 10, and I would make dresses out of my like my mother and then I take it off. I do something like people brushes every week. I'll skip for the time. And I can't get any height anymore. It's really
And our last question, if you're ready, continue to answer the other ones if you're not there yet. But what is play? Can you write a definition as a group? Or maybe come give me some words at least. But what is play?
Yeah, it's imagination.
So I'll give you like 3 minutes here. See what you can come up with.
Like whatever time you have to keep around.
When I think about play, I think about getting with the neighborhood kids.
Play to win.
Any schedule? Yeah. It's like recess.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I remember we had a group of kids, you know.
You love your kids riding the bike thing around.
No, but I do feel simple when I do.
Okay, we have some consensus in the group of what play is. A little bit.
Go down.
Okay. I want to hear. What did y'all come up with? What is play?
Enjoyable activity that is not done for the purpose of productivity.
An enjoyable activity. Productivity. Here's the reaction. I think that's good. Okay, what do you guys think?
It's fun without having to achieve anything.
Fun. Similar. Fun without having to achieve anything. But what about when you're like building a Lego set? You're trying to achieve something.
Uh-oh.
I'm just complicated. Did you all come up with anything? What? Okay, what is in your world? It's fun. Play is fun. Okay. Back here, what is play? Creative, imaginative. Okay. It's freedom. Any other words we want to add to this?
We
Fun and
just
freedom?
gathered with we were talking about gathering with the kids in the neighborhood, you know.
Yeah.
Gathered, it's a group.
It's a group.
We
Okay.
like doing it with a group. I mean.
We like doing it. Can it happen by yourself?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Great. So it can happen by yourself,
But
but it can happen in a group. It's better in a group. It can have a goal, but it doesn't have to have a goal. It can have objects involved, but it doesn't have to have objects. It can be imaginative, but it also could could, like,
Be by the rules.
be by the rules. Okay, so what is it? This is a lot of back and forth I'm hearing. It's what? It's life. I like that. Right? It's this thing I know it when I see it. Right? I know it when I feel it. And there's something to that. You might be thinking, okay, so this is Advent. Advent, the second thing of Advent 2 is peace. I have a 4-year-old son. I can attest that when he is playing, it does not often feel peaceful to me. So what is this connection between play and peace? And that is the question I want you to hold over this next hour we have together. Why are we talking about play when the theme of Advent 2 is peace? And hopefully by the end we can draw some connections. And I think play is one of the spiritual practices that we need to reclaim, especially as adults. And once again, you might say, play is a spiritual practice? What? So let's just hold these questions. Like, how is play a spiritual practice? And how does play aid or help or a vehicle for peace? Those are kind of our questions. I am going to invite you to play, right? I am an experiential learner. I am here with the microphone, and so I'm going to invite you to experience play. And that can involve moving your body, which can happen in all different ways, including your imagination. Equally valid ways. You can dance around the room with me. You can sit and imagine moving your body. Both are welcome in this space. If you want to get up and move, if I ever give an instruction that you don't want to do or isn't accessible for any reason, just don't do it. And figure out a different way to play, okay? Everything I suggest is simply that, a suggestion. You are the teacher for your body, the ultimate teacher, not me. Lastly, I invite you to experience this next 45 minutes we have together with curiosity and playfulness, which, I just get to remind you as adults that you get to be playful. We might not come up with any conclusions, but we're playing around this idea. And so approach everything with just curiosity and discovery. So, to begin to play, I am going to invite you to walk around the space if you so choose. If you don't want to walk around and you want to stay seated, just look. So I'm going to use the language of walking and seeing, but choose what language works for you. If you want to stay seated and see everything you can see, go ahead. If you choose to walk, now's the time to stand up and start walking around this space, and I want you to see everything you possibly can in this space. I'm going to put some music on, because why not? And just begin to see this space. I'm guessing a lot of you have been in this space a million times, but maybe you noticed something you've never noticed before. And you might have a habit like me of looking down while you walk. Or maybe you look up while you walk. Just notice what your habit is and change it. So I'm going to look up, maybe you need to look down. And maybe you're walking in a giant circle and you want to interrupt that and walk through some chairs. I love it. Get on a chair, why not? Maybe you want to try walking backwards, seeing if that changes how you see anything. Maybe you want to change the pace of how you're walking, walk really slow, really fast. See if that changes anything. And you might notice there are other people in this space with you, so maybe make eye contact with like 10 of them. See what that's like. Okay, now I want you to pay attention to the space as a whole. And I want you to notice where people are not and try to fill in those gaps. So fill in the gaps of the room. And then you get there, you're like, oh, there's another hole. Go over there, fill in that space. As you get there, you notice another wall filled in that space. Beautiful. Okay, and before you head back to your space, you need to come get a cup. An empty cup. If you have a cup of coffee, you're not going to use that. So grab a cup and then find an empty space to meet it. Anyone else need a cup? Okay, our game is not done. So if you want to stand for this, I encourage you to stand at the table. If not, you can totally do this too. But let me set the scene for you. We are now in a desert island, and there is no water, except for the 2 drops you have in your cup. Do you see them? See them? They're in there. 2 cups. We're going to play 3 rounds. Your goal is to not drop the cup. If you drop the cup, you're out. You need a. You need a. You definitely don't want to drop the coffee. Okay, so if you drop the cup, you're out. Don't worry, you can come back for the next round, so don't fret. But here's the thing. Your hand has cramped. You only have use of one hand right now. So put one hand behind your back. You're going to need it for a second. So put your cup on the other hand. Then put it behind your back. Your fingers have cramped. You cannot use your fingers. And it has started to rain. Let me get our background music. Okay, it's raining in front of you. It's raining closer to you. In front of you. Oh, to the right. To the left. Get that rain. Collect all the rain. You're dying of thirst. Get it. Now it's up, 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 up. Really high, really high. Get it, get it, get it. Oh, higher, higher. Get it higher. Get the rain. It's up there. Now get it lower, 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 lower. Okay, that was the first round. Good, good. Okay, second round. Now, you still cannot use one arm. You cannot use, your fingers have cramped for some reason, and now you can only use the back of your palm. And once again, it's raining. I can't even balance it. Go. You got to get in front and back, to the right, to the left. Oh, wait, no, a fly has gone in it. A fly. See if you can get the fly. Is it in there? Look close. Is there in there? Blow it off. Blow it off. Get it out of there. Okay, we have some cups. Okay, last round, last round. Last round. Your cup has fallen, but you caught it with your wrist. Down at your knee. Now there's some water and you don't want to lose it, but you have to work it all the way up. Get it all the way up. You can't use your hand. Get it up. You might collect some sweat on the way from that armpit. Get it all the way up. See if you can get the water. You're so thirsty. You got it. You got it. Yes. Good job. Okay. Nice job. Almost. So close. So close. Okay, have a seat. I've tortured you enough. As you're sitting down, I have a couple of reflection questions for you to think about. What did it feel like to play? Did you notice any resistance in your body when I asked you to do these silly things? Yeah. Yes. What was your sense of time as you played? You forgot about time. Okay. Were you present, or were you thinking about something else? Present. Anything else come up? More air. Lovely. You also went outside. Maybe there's more air out there. I love that. Any other thoughts? Was it hard? Was it easy? Did it make you think of anything? Of who you were. Say more. That's a stretch. Yeah, you enjoyed sitting after that. More silly. I love that. Yes, yep. Our limitations come to us in play, right? Exactly. Any other thoughts? Did you feel more? Oh, go ahead. Got easier. So getting up and walking felt really weird. But then by the end, you're like, sure, I'll put a cup on my knee. Why not? Okay. I love that. Take a breath. Just see if anything else comes. There's no right answer. We're just noticing. Yeah. Notice that you noticed other people. There was some competition. Right, totally. I couldn't even balance it on my hand. I came up with the game, right? Missing your sister. Did you play with your sister growing up? Yeah. Yeah. So the Bible is chock full of references to play. The book of Proverbs describes Lady Wisdom as playing with God in the act of creation. It says, I was his delight day by day, playing before him all the while, playing on the surface of the earth, and I found delight in the sons of men. It's in Proverbs 8. Psalms 104 describes sea creatures God made specifically to play with. And what if not playfulness characterizes God's instructions to Abraham to name his son Isaac, meaning let him laugh. And Jesus exhorts his disciples to become like children. And how could that be if Jesus didn't value play? And so for a moment, I'm going to invite us to use our playful, prayerful imagination for a little bit of reflection and contemplation. And so if it's helpful for you to close your eyes, you're welcome to, or maybe you just find a spot to kind of zone out on. But I want you to go back into your childhood and think about how you played. And your relationship with play itself. Allowing whatever memories to pop up as you think about play. Maybe it's some of the earliest memories of being outside, or a time you played with a particular beloved toy. It could be a time when you were alone or a time with others. But let yourself land on one memory. Whatever's coming to mind today. But one time you fully lost yourself in play. And settle into that particular memory, whatever's pulling you. As you put yourself back in that experience, notice what's happening in your body as you played. See if you can even use your senses to enter in. What was the temperature of the space? Were there any particular smells you remember? What stirred in you as you played? Did you share it with another person, a sibling, a friend, a parent? Was there this shared experience of beauty and connection and joy? Or maybe it was a moment of joy alone, this expansiveness of being totally present with yourself. What did you experience? And in this moment, let yourself just savor the delight or the joy. And you may not have noticed it in that moment, but now as we look back with our prayerful imagination, can you notice where God was with you in the scene? Maybe it's a glimmer of the Spirit. Or maybe you can imagine Jesus playing with you. Or perhaps God is this strong sense of love and belonging that you feel as you play. But where was God? How does God relate to your play? And as you stay with the memory just one moment more, are there any insights or invitations you sense here? And when you're ready, start to come back to this time and this place. So now that we have played and we've thought about play with God, are there any things you want to add, change, adapt to our definitions we're working with around play? Recreation. Recreated, yeah. How did that come up in this memory for you, if at all? Yeah.
In thinking of God, it's something my soul.
Yeah. Reclaimed, recreated in play.
What a great word.
Yeah, I love that. That feels important to add. Anything else coming up?
Play is a seed.
Play is a seed.
Safety. I'm thinking of the time when I was 5. Just so happy to be alive, not understanding that, but definitely feeling that and the nature.
Yeah, safety is involved. We don't play when we don't feel safe, right? Children that are around people that don't feel safe will not play. Part of walking around this room was playful, but also helping you build some safety. You know what's in the space. Any other thoughts? The definition around play is hard. There's a lot of different definitions out there. It's not an easy task, right? We kind of got into that of like, it's alone, it's with others. It's like this elusive thing. I think of it almost like trying to hold a bar of soap. The tighter you grip, the more easily it slips away. This definition. And it forces you to kind of loosen up and cradle it, right? And together, these observations we're making, we're managing to hold a bit of what play is together. One definition I do like comes from George Sheehan, and he says that play is where you realize the supreme importance and utter insignificance of what you're doing. The supreme importance and utter insignificance of what you are doing. And earlier, I noted that play, I think, is a spiritual practice. And many of our spiritual practices may seem utterly insignificant from the outside. Like, what are we doing in contemplative prayer? Sitting for 20 minutes? Like, what's actually happening from the outside? Yet we know these practices are supremely important. Our practices form us. And so there's 3 things I want to dance around with play. These are just kind of tasters for you to chew on later. But play reminds me of the spiritual practice of worship. As children, we knew how to play. It was natural for us. No one taught us how to play. We just do it. It's how we make sense of the world. It is our job as a child to play. And for me, growing up, dance was the purest form of play. I would totally lose myself in the music, moving my body. And even as a child, I knew that in those moments I was fully present, experiencing this like deep joy of what my body could do. And at the time, I couldn't name it, but now I look back and I say, that's God. That joy comes from God. And maybe for you, it wasn't dancing. Maybe it was on the soccer field or creating something, getting lost in art and drawing. Maybe it was creating an imaginary world. But whatever it was, no one had to force you to do it. No one forces us to play. Similarly, we can't force people to worship, force someone to faith. Both play and worship are born from delight, pure delight. And later, as I grew up, I began to notice the way I felt dancing and performing wasn't all that different I felt when I was in church, worshiping. And suddenly, watching sporting events on TV or being in the stands and seeing everyone raise their hand in celebration began to make sense to me. They were worshiping in a sense. They were losing themselves in something bigger than them. And so with this in mind, I propose that play is preparatory to worship. I think play is preparatory to worship. If we are playful people, we are primed to be worshipful because we become practice in losing ourselves in something bigger than us. In both play and worship, there's this loss of self-consciousness. It's a freedom that allows you to be fully present. In that moment, you're not stuck in the past or thinking about the future. You're here and now. Right? We forgot time existed. And so with that, the other thing about play is that I see it as a contemplative practice that invites us to be present with ourselves and present with others in the room. You notice people. Other people are in this space with you. And I think the purely present are never far from God. And so both play and contemplative practice invite us to be open, to be curious, and give us this sense of optimism and hope. Silliness, right? Both play and contemplative practice invite us to develop this spiritual part of us where our mind and our body and our spirits intersect. And lastly, play reminds me of the practice of Sabbath and rest. When God created the world, creation wasn't out of necessity. God didn't need us. It was out of delight. Some theologians describe creation as this divine dance, right, between God, Son, Holy Spirit. And creation was this act to invite others into the dance, like into the party. We need more. We need more to come join this love. And then, right, when we think of creation narrative and the 7 days of creation, on the 6th day, we were created, put in the garden to work and keep it. But before humans began work, what did they do? On the 7th day, they rested. Humans hadn't done anything yet, people. It wasn't that they had worked enough, they had earned enough, they had named enough animals. No. God said, before you work, we rest. That is the foundation of who we are. Similarly, we don't earn playfulness or play. God's invitation to first rest, there's an invitation to see our humanity arising from that place, a place of delight and play. Jesuit theologian Hugo Rahner describes play as our participation in the divine, a way in which our spirit returns home to God. I just love that, right? When we think of this divine dance and play being our participation in that, when our spirit is returning home. In play, he says, we take the inviting hands of God and together we dance. It is the dance of pure pleasure, one entirely without purpose other than the dance itself. So Sabbath, like play, is this sacred pause. It's the pause in the music that changes the entire melody and reframes it. But Sabbath has a boundary, right? It's the seventh day. It's not the sixth day and the fifth day and the fourth day. No, it's the seventh day. There's boundaries around it. And in play, there's boundaries as well. Maybe the boundaries are the soccer field or the rules of the card game. But boundaries are important. It gives us the space and the freedom. But then the delight from that spills over into every other area of our life. So now, I want you to think of something in your life that feels anything but playful. Maybe it's a relationship or a decision you're having to make. Something that does not feel playful at all. Author and professor Jaco Hamman named 6 enemies to play. And each of these enemies has a hint of playfulness to them. Some might even argue that they are forms of play, but he would say they're corrupted forms of play. Because the fruits of them are not peace and justice, but frustration, fear, and inner fragmentation. And so as you hold that thing you just named for yourself, the thing that feels anything but playful, I want you to consider that maybe one of these 6 are at work. Criticism, control, competition, compulsion, conflict, or consumption. So criticism could sound like your inner critic is being really loud, reminding you you're not good enough here or telling you that you're a fraud. Maybe you're criticizing yourself or criticizing others, but when that's involved, it becomes less than playful. If it's control, maybe you feel like you have no control in that situation, like everything is out of your control. Or you have this idea that you need total control. Even we can try to control play or vacations, like this vacation must feel restful. And as soon as we do that, it's anything but, right? Competition is corrupted when winning becomes everything. Competition isn't bad, it can add playfulness, right? I want to hold the cup. But when it becomes everything, perfectionism creeps in and corrupts our desire for excellence. Or compulsion, right? Compulsion sounds like I have to do this because it reduces anxiety. I have to go for my run because if I don't, the rest of my day is thrown off. Run could be playful, but when the compulsion comes in, it's anything but. I have to keep my house clean because what if someone stops by? Compulsive behavior is not life-giving and it's not life-sustaining. Conflict, I think we all know what that is, but speaks to the unwanted side of play, which is aggression and violence. So any behavior or action, verbal or nonverbal, which has the potential to cause bodily, emotional, relational, or economic harm to yourself or someone else, there's conflict there, and it's not play. Or consumption. This give me more, right? This comes out in Christmas. This is where I'm feeling it. This like, I need to do more. I need to do more. Give me more. And it speaks to this kind of relational or emotional or spiritual hunger that we experience. Well, we think that doing more or buying more will help satisfy that. So think once again, see if you can name one of these 6 for yourself that's at play in your area that feels less than playful. Everyone got one? Something? Okay. As you're sitting here, I want you to think of what that enemy of play feels like in your body. Sometimes I use my hands, that helps me. So if I think of criticism, it might be this like wagging finger, or control, kind of this grabbing. But what is the felt sense as you hold that enemy of play? Just name it and feel it. Tension. Any other noticings? Anxiety, like beating heart.
I was bracing myself.
Bracing, yep.
Maybe the stuff while I'm right now.
Squeezing, yeah. Squeezing. Yeah, sometimes you don't even have to think too hard. You're just paying attention to what am I doing as I think about it. Great. Okay, so pinpoint that feeling for yourself for a moment. And as persons of faith, we have a different relationship with our enemies. Jesus told his followers to love their enemies. So how does one love criticism and control? How does one love conflict or compulsion, competition or consumption? So what would it look like to befriend these? So think of that movement, whatever you are imagining, and see if there's any way in your imagination to make it more playful. Does the wagging hand turn into sparkle fingers, or the beating heart kind of wiggle? But what does it feel like to add a sense of openness or boundlessness here? Maybe it's a slowness, a curiosity and wonder. Or what would it look like to be hospitable to yourself or others here? Just imagine what that shift might feel like in your body. And then let's circle back up in our triads or quads and talk about what you just noticed. Name the enemy you felt. You don't have to choose your level of vulnerability, but name the enemy, what it felt like, and what making it a little bit more playful might possibly change. Does that make sense? Okay, go ahead and circle up.
People think they're not really driving home. She knows this. But I don't have to get ready to get home. I've never been wrong. Just driving. You know, and I get that.
Yeah.
I'm not a nervous driver at all, but I'm worried, you know. And playfulness is, and that thing, I'm trying to think of what you like to say. I don't know. All the female and other stuff. And at the end of the lunch, we got up because we had a long day. Right.
The wise bastard.
Oh, no. Find a way. And she's decided not to go home.
You like it.
Not the holidays. Pull over. But you don't see it when I get there. And I found that trying. I realized I didn't think about it. I deal with it.
Yeah.
It takes some like think about her.
Well,
And that's tell you what they're going. Huh?
I think slowing down.
So.
You're just trying to get
Yeah, I think I said
It's brilliant planning
That's good.
whether it's
that it's far worse than it
You want to go?
I don't know why the new one
doing something like that.
very expensive. I never expected that I wasn't in the room.
It's so hard.
I never expected.
It's like that's the goal for me. Full side.
I never used that. I didn't. That always so I
Have that space.
I never do.
I feel like the
I mean, I have that. So cancer, but I know you can survive. Certainly, there's no word. You hear the story of Jaco
That's right. Yeah. It's a good tool. Yeah. Yeah.
2 more minutes.
I know.
Yeah. Play. Oh my God.
Okay, let's slowly start coming back together. I would love to hear a couple discoveries you guys have had so far. What connections are you making? What did you notice when you tried to bring some playfulness into this area? Yeah. Exercise. Yeah. 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 You're talking to a somatic spiritual director. You're speaking my language. Move our bodies. Yeah, right? But how play is the intersection of our spirit, our mind, our body. Beautiful. What other connections or thoughts are rolling in your heads?
If you can turn towards play and try and connect with the kid on their level, it often can help to actually de-escalate. And it seems really inefficient, and it seems like, especially if we're late and the conflict is like, I don't want to put my shoes on, it just seems inefficient to be like, hey, where did that voice come from? Did that come from your armpits? Whatever. But actually, it can help to get you there.
Yeah. It undermines the power struggle, right? Yeah, let's go to the car. Do you think we could walk backwards all the way to the car? I don't know. I I can't do it. I can't, like, totally changes the dynamic. What else? No, just clearing.
I suppose I couldn't do it. I couldn't take the playfulness to the conflict.
Yeah.
I couldn't. I mean, I'm willing to share my sister-in-law's going to have a double mastectomy on January 17th. And I couldn't.
Yeah. Jaco has the person I quoted has this wonderful book about playful living, and he tells the story of a person and kind of makes this distinction that is part of this conversation too, of like play versus playfulness. And this woman, he tells a story of cancer, and like, how do you have a playful end of life? Like, what does that even mean? And tells the testimony of kind of watching this woman die, but in a playful way, in a way that was not playful in this like frivolous way, but this way filled with openness and slowness.
I have mastectomy. I had it several years ago. I'm still here. So it's not that I believe she's going to die. It's for her that I worry.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? And I think this is touches on the reasons why it's easier for kids to play than adults. Like, when do we start becoming less playful? Well, when our world gets bigger and we start to realize that we aren't safe all the time and there are things. So there's this is all at play. I'm not saying like to just like throw some glitter on it and make it, it's these things we have to hold in tension as people that live in a world that is less than playful.
I believe that worry is the enemy of almost everything, because when you worry to me is a very non-productive emotion, and it doesn't get you anywhere. It doesn't change the things you're worried about. It's worthless. So if you can stop I would say I'm concerned about something, but I try not to say that I'm worried about it. I had an aunt, and I always thought, even at that time, I wasn't very self-aware, but I always thought she was like a professional worrier, because she always had something she had to worry about. And you know what? She was my mother's youngest sibling. She was the first to go from cancer. And I really believe that it just ate her up.
And I often see worry as like a form of control, right? We're trying to control, we're trying to control something that hasn't even happened yet. And if we worry enough about it and come up with enough plans, B, C, Q, R, T, then we're in control of the situation. But yeah, right? Playfulness brings us to the moment where we're not thinking about what could happen.
With control, when you try and control things, you're supposed to live for today.
Yeah.
You can't control tomorrow. So to worry about it or to have anxiety about it, it doesn't change it. So live for today like God tells you to do, and don't worry about tomorrow. So that brings in your faith aspect. Take care of it.
Yeah.
If you're cognizant of it, it's at least a step in the right direction.
Scenario of almost anything you'd worry about is that you would die. So if you could decide, I'm not afraid to die,
Right.
then almost everything is expendable. You're okay. I could die.
Well, the thing of it is,
Maybe
if you
it's
believe
today.
that you're going to a better place, then you're not afraid to die necessarily.
At the end,
So
it's the big fear.
it is, but once you kind of somewhat conquer that, it does help things, at least from my perspective.
See a hand.
So I was gonna say, so I'm a worrier.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Ashley. I'm a worrier. For me, I know by my nature, I'm never going to not worry. You know, it's not going to be an emotion that I tackle one day and I'll never feel it again.
Yeah.
But for me, it is something that I can recognize, and it's almost like a little signal for me to then go turn to God.
So say it, you changed it from a desolation, something that pulls you away from God, to a consolation, right? It's the exactly.
Then I can feel it.
That's called befriending, right? This is exactly what we're talking about. You're not going to change it; it's going to be there. But how do you befriend it? How does it become something that draws you closer to God? Okay, right. The big question at the beginning: why are we talking about play when the theme of Advent 2 is peace? So one more discussion question. You only get like 2 minutes, so you're going to have to spitfire. What does play do in our relationships with others? How does play relate to our relationship with others and with creation, with the world? Is play just for us? Yeah. You get a minute.
For another life, you don't know what you can plan your way to bring it to show. And they understand. I had to do that.
I mean, for me, so much.
Yeah. I'm thinking of playing. Yeah, when you I usually have sit around and talk, but I think about the way see a different
A lot of it, to me, is kind of although that's not really play, but yeah.
I think it's less.
Everything's right.
Being in another place.
Yes. Yeah.
Music, like
Yeah. That's nothing.
Okay, like I said, I hope you came up with something. Here is some of the connection I see, and this comes again from Jaco Hamman. He says, being playful encourages us to be mindful about our reality, engages it with our whole heart, mind, and soul, with our whole being. Serious persons, of course, might think that being playful is frivolous, even a sign of immaturity, forgetting that playfulness is a sign of God's shalom. God's reign of peace and justice has set in. We play when we are safe. Play is an act of reclamation. And it's a sign, it's a taste of God's shalom. Not just for us, but for all of creation. Play at the expense of someone else is not this type of play we're talking about. It's a different type of playfulness that is about bringing in the reign of peace and justice. Let me pray a blessing over us. Blessed are you for feeling the pull, that tug back to that part of yourself, so easily ignored, yourself at ease, yourself in flow, yourself at play. Pain or boredom or business has sucked up all the energy. But wait, aren't you more than a crisis firefighter? Blessed are you when you relax, when you feel young again, when you lay the stress down. Blessed are you when you remember that you used to be pretty good at guitar or piano, or actually you're a terrible singer, but wait for it. You're going to bring out the show tunes anyways. Blessed are you who put the word fun in the calendar, even when you have no idea what that might actually do. You are more than a list of things to do, people to love, problems to solve. You are a big, loud laugh, or a quiet study of wonder. Extroverted or introverted, splashy or contained, may the joy of fun be poured back in your roots, and may you watch yourself come back to life. Amen. Thank you all.